What is the real quick, one sentence each? What do you recommend people do now? I'm saying save money wherever you can, and if you can bring in extra money, find a way. What do you say, Steve?
I say continue to work hard. If you don't have a job, better get one while they're out there. And I don't think I'd sell the stock market right now because the prices have fallen already so much.
David?
Wake up every day and be as productive as you can be, because that's what God made you to be. Be productive, and it solves a lot of financial problems too.
It does. Maybe instead of working a 40-hour week, join the rest of us. Work 70, 80, 90 hours. And I know that people don't like to hear that advice, but that's what I do. Anyway, thank you both. David Bonson, Steve Moore. I've done that my whole life. Just keep working. Anyway, when I was a contractor, I remember I would work through the night if I could. You know, if people would let me stay, or if I was working in a commercial facility, I'd stay as long as they let me.
I keep trying to explain that to Jake and Andy, that like that's just the way you got to hustle. You know, that you should be doing like clips and graphics for Give Them an Argument like all night if you can, as long as I'll let you.
Yeah, it's right now. I'd say Andy and I put about 70 hours a week into the show, and you're like, I want to get to those triple digits. You know what I mean?
Yeah, get those numbers up. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So I apologize. Work will set us free, but yeah, it pisses me the fuck off to. I mean, even if he's telling the truth, working at his job versus the jobs he's telling people to do. I
know. Like the man. And, you know, I mean, takes one to know one, but I mean, the man talks about politics for a living. That's just not the same as like the jobs that are held by the low wage workers. He's telling that if they don't want to be poor, they should just be working 90 hours a week.
I mean, it's not like he has to stand while doing it. You know, he could just, you know, he gets to sit down in a nice, comfortable seat.
Let's put it this way. Sometimes after the post game, which is 3 hours, or even longer, we have energy to like riff a little bit, you know, and we've talked about politics for the past 3 hours. I don't know if it's quite like a 90-hour week at the mines, but you know, maybe we're just not working hard enough, like you said.
Yeah. So I discovered this gem. I mean, I haven't listened to the Sean Hannity's radio show in quite some time. I used to, because I'm an old man, and there was a time when you couldn't just listen to podcasts in your car when you drove around. I don't know, you know, ask your, you know, I know you don't know what I'm talking about, Jake, but like ask your dad about it, maybe, I don't know. But there was a time when you couldn't do that, right? You know, you couldn't like plug your phone into the car and listen to podcasts. So, you know, the only option was really, you know, unless there, you know, like you could listen to a CD or something maybe, but otherwise the only option was that you listen to the radio. And so as somebody who absolutely loathed all of these people, I nevertheless ended up listening to quite a bit of Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity back in the day, you know, driving back and forth, like from, you know, East Lansing to Grand Rapids and stuff. And I will say, I said this in the article I wrote for Jacobin when Limbaugh kicked the bucket, that Limbaugh was the one who, you know, was much more talented. I mean, evil, but much more talented as a showman. One of the things I most remember about Hannity is that he would do this thing where callers would tell him he was a great American, and he would say, "No, sir, you are a great American." You know, which it's like, all right, I didn't know great Americans spent this much time kissing each other's asses, but I guess that's what they do.
Maybe you're not a great American.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the great Americans do, clearly, right? Like, it surprises me.
I don't know. Do you have any boots to lick? You could start there.
Yeah, but this is just astonishing. And I should also say that the Steve he's talking about too in that clip, right? You know, one of the guests, I believe that would be Stephen Moore, who is, if you look him up, he's like a right-wing economic propagandist, and also I believe an important advisor to former President Trump, which is kind of amazing on like in a few ways, right? Because remember, Trump was supposed to be a populist. I know I never shut up about this, and it's like a really straightforward point, but like also, you know, I think it's worth making, you know, because it's like, I think it's one of the most important things in contemporary American politics, you know, how full of shit these people are. when they talk that way, because it's like, okay, so these are the great populists who care about like the working class deplorables who have been forgotten in the heartland and all that stuff. They want you to have to work 90 hours a week. It's like, oh, if I can work, I mean, not that I actually think Sean Hannity works 90 hours a week, or anything close to it, right? I mean, 70 hours a week means you're working 10 hours a day, all 7 days of the week. Um, Even 80 hours a week, well, you know, even if you're working 12 hours a day, all 7 days of the week, that still only gets you up to 84, right? So you got to be doing, I guess, 90 hours a week. You can work 13 hours a day, 6 days a week, and then maybe on Sunday you only work 12. But that doesn't really sound to me like people who are terribly interested in the well-being and happiness of working class people. Um, and I mean, where my head goes, I've been teaching a class on this book, Capital Volume One. Yeah, and that's has this giant chapter, but that's like riveting. Chapter 10 on the working day. That's all about the like titanic effort to limit the working day to like only 12 hours or only 10 hours. In Victorian England, basically, and it's and it really, this is sort of capitalism in its natural state, right? That every single drop of value that can possibly be squeezed out of you is going to be squeezed, and it makes perfect sense to me given what people like Sean Hannity and Stephen Moore are, right? That they see that as perfectly natural and legitimate. But like again, the gap between this and like what all these people pretend to be is just amazing. I watched so I originally, as I said, I've not listened to Mr. Hannity's radio show in some time. I originally ran into this clip because they played it on Crystal Kyle and Friends, and a point that Crystal Ball made on there is, okay, hold up, aren't they like Republicans supposed to be pro family? Aren't they like constantly talking about this? So if you're working like 90 hours a week, so you're working 13 hours a day, 6 days a week, and 12 hours the other, when exactly are you supposed to see your family?
Yeah, I mean, and it also reminds me too of kind of like some of the Rawls stuff. I think at least
Yeah.
stuff of like, even if you can work 90 hours a week and it's survival of the fittest, right? Do we want a society that only rewards people that can work that hard without dying or passing out? Is that the people that we want, like the meager pittances to go to them? You know what I mean? Like I'm just curious for conservatives, is that really, or at least working class conservatives, is that really the type of society they want to live in? Where that's what you have to do, or that's the type of person that gets ahead. It's not even about talent at that point. It's just about, are you willing to, grind yourself down to a husk for capitalism?
Yeah, no, that is exactly the question, right? And I mean, if you actually, think about that, like what working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, does to somebody, um, like that's what we're, I mean, again, like what else besides that, right? Are you ever going to be able to do? Not much, right? Like, I mean, if you're working, I mean, if you're sleeping 8 hours a day and working 12 hours a day, and and you and the time, and you don't like teleport to work, right? So you gotta you gotta include some travel time in there. Um, then and like you're also eating some meals, right? That you haven't figured out how to survive without doing that. Um, then and also, of course, since unfortunately, I'm sure from Sean Hannity's perspective, the laws are generally set up such that you can't work 70, 80, or 90 hours a week for the same employer, So you're traveling. You know, I'm sure he would prefer to go back to the time when you could. But
because remember, Sean Hannity has two employers. He has the radio show and Fox News. So, you know, he's not doing this. And again, he's probably only working 50 hours a week. You know,
no, I'm sure he is. I mean, like he
Yeah.
doesn't.
I believe he puts in 10 hours a day. But he doesn't work weekends, does he?
No, I don't think he does. Right, and it's
Yeah.
also like, and again, it's like, you know, I mean, again, from one to another, right? You know, he sits on his ass expressing opinions about politics. Like sometimes he'll do this thing where he's got this like little foam football that he likes to throw back and forth. But like, I'm pretty sure that's the only physical activity that's involved in this job, right? You know, it's not like it's not like he's roofing or something, right? Like all he's doing is sitting there running his mouth and being told he's a great American and telling other people that they're great Americans, and talking about how wonderful Donald Trump is, and there are regular, like, man, I mean, you think about like labor laws that say once every certain number of hours, right? You need to get a break, and anybody who's been in the real world knows that on non-union jobs, it's often hard to get laws like that meaningfully enforced. But I mean, like, come on, man. The man is on the radio and TV. They have commercial breaks even, right? I mean, it's not like he's even doing it.
Are the Fox News hosts in a union? Are they in the television union? I'd be interested to see. I wonder if they take their union breaks and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's I'm sure that when you talk about the culture war and stuff like that, there's a reason that these conservatives are going to spend way more time on culture war than just lecturing people that they should be, because it was kind of like a mask off where he was like, people don't want to hear it, but they got to be working 90 hours a week. I mean, just how many people really, at the end of a long shift turn on Hannity and that's what they want to hear. It's a little, there might be like a small percentage, but it's hard to imagine that's their like winning strategy. And I think if we see, where they spend most of their rhetorical energy, it's not on that, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I mean, yeah, he knows people don't want to hear it, right? Like, why do you suppose, right? They don't want to hear it, right? That's like, no, you're still not working enough. You still have enough of a life that you're allowed to live outside of work. You gotta cut into that, right? Like that time that you get to spend playing with your kids or whatever, that's got to go. You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron-exclusive post-games on Monday nights, all of the patron-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.